Nobody anticipated this, not even Rasheeda or the cast. In the most recent park-stopping episode of Love and Hip Hop, everything took a dark, unexpected turn as rumors became full-fledged revelations. The drama that played out on film left fans stunned, as one character dropped a child Kirk allegedly concealed, and the tension in the room could have broken glass the moment the truth came to light. Producers attempted to divert the conversation and the cast members moved uneasily in their seats, but there was commotion after the harm was done. But the most startling part wasn't the revelation. Rather, it was Rasheeda's face and her whole expression. One castmate, obviously tired, eventually uttered what everyone else was scared to say. Fans watching from home lit up social media in shock, asking, "Is this real?" One user wrote, "Please tell me this ain't happening," as the room zoomed in, capturing that moment of heartbreak. But it was, and this was only the beginning, for what follows will compel you to reevaluate all you believe to be true about Kirk Rasheeda and the reality of their alleged romance. Kirk Frost's life had reached a moment of total chaos. When the truth about Kirk's hidden child was exposed, everything changed. What had started out as a typical day swiftly evolved into a scandal that would rock not only his family but the entire entertainment industry. The news of Kirk's secret child broke in front of millions of people, and the person who was most impacted was none other than his wife, Rasheeda. This startling discovery sent shockwaves through the entire world, and what followed was a series of events that nobody could have predicted. Rasheeda, who had devoted her life to Kirk, was left in complete shock and disbelief upon discovering the truth. She couldn't believe that her husband, who she had supported for years, had been keeping such a huge secret from her. Her emotions ran wild, and it was obvious to everyone that this was the most devastating blow of her life. Her world, which she believed to be safe and based on trust, started to fall apart in front of her eyes. However, he felt stuck because there was no way to reverse the harm caused by the news being public. He had always thought he could keep the secret from being revealed, but now that Rasheeda was looking at him with hurt and bewildered eyes, he had no choice but to face the music. "Rasheeda, it's not with you," I believe he begged in an attempt to explain himself, saying, "I never wanted you to find out this way. It's complicated and I didn't know how to tell you." But Rasheeda, who was heartbroken by the betrayal, was unable to control her emotions. Her voice trembled with rage and astonishment, and her eyes filled with tears. "Call this. You have a secret child, and you've been keeping it from me all this time. How could you do this to me, Kirk? After everything we've been through, you kept this from me." Across the atmosphere, and Kirk stood there defenseless. He had no explanation or answer that could improve the situation. In fact, there was nothing he could say to repair the harm he had caused. The revelation affected more than just Kirk and Rasheeda. It sent shockwaves through the whole cast and crew. One of the first people to remark on the matter was Jasmine Blue, a prominent cast member who is known for her direct and frequently outspoken thoughts. Jasmine didn't hold back. "Honestly, I always knew something wasn't right. It was just a matter of time before this came out," she stated, surprising everyone. Jasmine's revelation left everyone stunned because of how matter-of-factly she talked, appearing to have knew all along, which prompted even more concerns. Had she known the secret for a long time? And if so, why hadn't she spoken up sooner? Meanwhile, admirers of the most recent drama flocked to Twitter, received a ton of responses from people who were shocked and incredulous. One fan wrote on Twitter, "If this is true, Kirk has a lot of explaining to do. His family deserves better than this. This isn't just about the show anymore, it's about real life. Kirk has a lot to answer for," wrote another fan. The social media response was fierce, and it was evident that the story was being shared like wildfire. Feeling the burden of his secret being revealed, he couldn't help but wonder whether things would have gone differently if he had told Rasheeda sooner. "Maybe I should have told her," he thought, "but I was afraid of how she would react. Didn't want to lose her." As the days went by, Rasheeda continued to repeat the events in her head, trying to figure out how her husband had hidden such a big secret from her and why he hadn't told me. Her world had been destroyed, and she wasn't sure how to move on. Why didn't he trust me enough to share this with me? She asked herself. Rasheeda's emotional toll was indisputable. She felt betrayed by the same person and simultaneously upset, furious, and puzzled. She confided to a close friend, "This is something I never saw coming and I don't know how to handle it," as she had always thought of Kirk and herself as partners in a team. However, now everything felt like a lie, and she wasn't sure how to look at him again. Despite his overwhelming guilt, he knew he had to try to make things right. He reached out to Rasheeda and tried to explain what he had done. pleading with her to understand that he never intended to hurt her. The situation is complicated and he wasn't sure how to know Kirk, Rasheeda snapped. You don't get to make excuses. You've been hiding this from me for years, and now I have to deal with the consequences. You think I can just forgive you for this? The tension between them was evident, and it was obvious that things were never going to be fixed. The couple's relationship had been put to the test in ways never seen before, and the path to recovery appeared to be long and unpredictable. As the days passed, more information about the narrative began to surface, and Jasmine, who had been outspoken about her opinions on that there's more to this than just the child Jasmine hinted at, "Believe me, you guys have no idea what's really going on." She even went so far as to say that Kirk had been concealing more than one secret. However, the matter continued to stir the pot. The drama involving Kirk and Rasheeda was far from done, and it appeared that more discoveries were imminent. But for the time being, her behind-the-scenes remarks sent viewers into a frenzy. What other secrets was Kirk concealing? The future of Kirk and Rasheeda's relationship was in jeopardy, and nobody knew what would happen next. Would they be able to work things out and rebuild their marriage? Or was this the end for them? The days after Kirk's hidden child was revealed were a flurry of emotions for the family. The weight of the secret was now too great for Kirk, who had once been the rock of Rasheeda's life, to ignore as he stood before her as a stranger, a man she could no longer trust, while viewers and everyone else involved in the drama tried to digest what had just transpired. Kirk's guilt was suffocating as he tried to find the right words to apologize to Rasheeda. But each time he opened his mouth, it felt like the gap between them widened even more. The revelation had destroyed their marriage's foundation, and now everything was hanging in the balance. In the meantime, Rasheeda was struggling with her own feelings, and Kirk couldn't help but worry if things would ever be the same. He could see it in her eyes. The anguish, the rage, the incredulity. She had every right to be upset. She had given so much of herself to Kirk, and now she felt betrayed in the worst manner conceivable. "How could you do this to me, Kirk?" she asked, her voice shaking. She was simultaneously angry, sad, and heartbroken. Rasheeda's moving words, "How could you hide something so huge from me? I trusted you with everything," struck Kirk in the stomach. He had never seen her like this before. She was a strong woman who had always supported him no matter what. "Rasheeda, I never meant for this to happen." He whispered, "I never wanted to hurt you. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought I could protect you from all of this. But Rasheeda wasn't buying it. She wasn't," he said, describing the unbearable pain in her eyes after the betrayal. Interested in justifications any longer, she had heard enough. "You believe that by keeping me in the dark for all these years, you could protect me from the truth." She shook her head, her ire growing. "No, Kirk, this isn't about protection. It's about betrayal." As the discussion progressed, as the situation grew more intense, the gravity of it became apparent to all parties involved. Fans were also eagerly awaiting the next development as the news went viral, and everyone had an opinion. Social media was inundated with comments, memes, and reactions from fans who were shocked by what they were witnessing. Some were Team Alberts, however, were firmly on Rasheeda's side, voicing their fury at Kirk's falsehoods and dishonesty. One fan tweeted, "Kirk can't come back from this. He lost all credibility with Rasheeda and the fans he's done." Kirk also defended his conduct and said that he should be given a chance to redeem himself. "Rasheeda deserves better than this. She's already been through so much. This is too much for her to handle," said another fan. The public's disapproval of Kirk's version of events was evident from the overwhelming support for Rasheeda. But Kirk wasn't the only one who felt the heat. Jasmine Blue, who had been outspoken about the matter from the beginning, was now at the focus of even greater controversy. Fans were shocked when Jasmine revealed further information about the hidden child after teasing it in an interview. "You think this is the worst of it?" she asked. "You have no idea." Fans began to speculate about what else Kirk had been concealing after learning that there was more to Kirk's life than just a child, and that there are secrets that no one is aware of. What other secrets did Kirk have? Was there more drama or tension in store for Rasheeda? As the situation grew more complex and nobody knew where it would go, Rasha was fighting to keep her composure. The betrayal was weighing heavily on her, making it hard for her to focus on anything else. She spent the majority of her days alone, attempting to cope with the pain. She told her closest friends, "I don't even know who you are anymore." The man she thought she knew was gone, and the love she had once felt for Kirk was now tainted with bitterness. Everything had been shattered, but despite her suffering, Rasheeda, unable to trust her own husband, she realized she needed to make some decisions. She started to doubt everything, including her relationship, her future, and the life she had created with Kirk. What sort of life is this she? As the days passed and the public fallout persisted, I questioned out loud if I could ever trust him again. The media was unrelenting and watched every move Kirk and Rasheeda made. The drama became a hot issue and people couldn't stop talking about it. Kirk felt cornered and started to approach the road to redemption was not going to be simple though, as Rasheeda was still processing her feelings and wasn't prepared to forgive. He confided in a close friend, "I don't know how to fix this. I made a huge mistake and now everything is falling apart." "You've done too much damage," she remarked one day, her voice shaking with passion. "I don't know if I can ever forgive you, Kirk, just yet." She understood that trust couldn't be restored overnight and wasn't sure if she even wanted to try. Kirk lost Rasheeda's trust and now had to live with the awful fact that the woman he loved, the woman he had spent so many years with, was doubting everything. The future of their relationship appeared uncertain, and Kirk wasn't sure if he could make things right. As the drama progressed, fresh information surfaced that fueled the flames. Kirk's hidden child was just the beginning. As more individuals looked into his background, more secrets appeared. What else was Kirk concealing, and how far would Rasheeda go? With each new revelation, the stakes increased. Would Kirk and Rasheeda's marriage survive this controversy, or was this the end of their journey together? Fans, family, and the media were all on edge as they searched for the truth. As the dust settled, Kirk found himself caught up in a maelstrom of public scrutiny. The hidden child was only the beginning of his problems, and he soon realized that the media wouldn't be letting him off the hook anytime soon. The rumors continued to circulate, each one more scandalous than the last. But he no longer had to worry about just the public. Rasheeda's trust had been destroyed, the foundation of their marriage had been upended, and the emotional harm was far from being repaired. In the days after the exposure, Rasheeda's suffering seemed to worsen, and she spent restless nights going over every moment in her head. Even though she had always been a strong woman, she felt as like she was losing herself because of the overpowering emotions and the fact that she had missed all the warning signs. It was difficult for her to accept the fact that the guy she loved was like, "Gave you everything, Kirk." She sobbed to him during one of their seldom but intense chats. "I supported you, I developed a relationship with you, and you did this to me, and I don't even recognize you anymore." Her children's father had lied to her for years, hiding the truth of another kid. Kirk, now yearning for a chance at redemption, was divided. He wanted to explain, apologize, and somehow make things right, but he didn't know how. No matter what he said, Rasheeda's eyes remained frigid, and her voice was unmistakably tinted with a deep melancholy that pierced through her words. His words pierced him like a dagger. He was overcome with guilt for betraying her, but he also understood that no amount of apology could repair the harm he had done. He had broken something irreparably, and the person he loved the most was getting farther away every day. "I didn't want to hurt you," Rasheeda, Kirk said, barely audible, full of sorrow. "I believe that by keeping it from you, I could shield you from the suffering." Rasheeda's response was scathing, with a note of resentment in her voice. "How could you protect me by lying to me and making decisions without consulting me?" Her words were like a smack in the face, but Kirk knew they were true. He had let her down in the worst manner conceivable. He couldn't go back in time, and the future looked dismal. "Maybe protect me, Kirk. I deserve better than this." Widened, and the emotional gap between them became more apparent. Rasheeda started to emotionally distance herself, spending more time with her loved ones in an attempt to find solace and support from those who really supported her. She was no longer the same woman who had supported Kirk through thick and thin. She had changed as the public outcry escalated as a result of Rasheeda's mental distress. The media had learned about the situation and the articles kept flooding in, but people were beginning to want more information about Kirk's concealed child. Was this child? How old were they? And why had Kirk concealed them for so long? These questions plagued Kirk, and the media put a tremendous amount of pressure on them. Everyone wanted answers, but Rasheeda was the most frantic. In a startling turn of events, Jasmine Blue chose to speak out once more, further igniting the controversy. This time she claimed to have information about the child's mother, a woman who had allegedly been in a covert relationship with Kirk for years. As Jasmine hinted in a live interview, Kirk has been leading a double life. Child, but there's a whole secret relationship that nobody knew about. Jasmine's revelations were shocking because she said that Kirk had a long-term affair with his child's mother, which Rasheeda was unaware of. She even alluded to a past in which Kirk had concealed this relationship from everyone, including his closest friends. Could Kirk really have been living a double life all this time? Fans pondered on social media, viral, and they were desperate to determine what was true and what was just more drama being sparked by Jasmine. Everyone involved was dying from the anticipation and the seemingly never-ending question, but Rasheeda couldn't help but feel even more deceived. Not only had she learned about the potential affair after Kirk had concealed his child from her, the pain of this new information was nearly unbearable for her. It seemed as though her entire world was falling apart around her. Just when she thought she had the situation under control, another startling detail surfaced. "I don't even know if this isn't just about a child," Rasheeda said in a private talk with her sister, "but also about everything he's been hiding from me. He's lied to me for years, and now I'm questioning everything. Rasheeda, you have to take care of yourself right now," she said gently. "You can't keep living like this. You need to think about what's best for you." Her sister, who had witnessed the highs and lows of Rasheeda's marriage, was at a loss for words. She knew that Rasheeda was strong, but even the strongest wouldn't have her breaking point. For your own comfort, Rasheeda was at a loss for words. She felt deceived, perplexed, and completely devastated. The man she had trusted with her heart, the man she had loved, and the man she had built a life with had turned out to be, while Rasheeda was having to deal with the truth, Kirk was still attempting to repair what was left of the relationship. He made multiple attempts to reach out to her, but the secrets, lies, and betrayals were too much for her to manage. To her by texting, calling, and even visiting her home. But each time he encountered icy silence, Rasheeda wasn't prepared to speak with him or confront the man who had completely upended her life. "I just need you to understand, Rasheeda," Kirk said during Rasheeda shook her head, tears in her eyes, saying, "I know I messed up, but I'm asking for a chance to make it right. I love you and I want to fix this. Kirk, you can't fix what's broken between you and Lee." As the drama developed, the fans were left with more questions than answers. Would Kirk ever be able to make amends? Would Rasheeda be able to move past the betrayal? This is about trust, and that's something you can never get back. Was this the end of their marriage? The emotional roller coaster was far from finished, and the stakes increased with each new disclosure. The public's reaction remained mixed, and the media kept covering every turn. Some admirers were still holding out. There was tension between them, and no one knew where the story would go next. The silence between them had become louder than anything Kirk could say after innumerable missed calls and ignored messages. Some people hoped for a reconciliation, while others thought Rasheeda deserved better than Kirk's lies. He parked his car alone a few blocks from Rasheeda's boutique in the hopes that he could see her, even if only in passing. However, she didn't show up that day or the following. Instead, it seemed as though she vanished into a shell that was formed out of betrayal, wrath, and sadness. In reality, no one held her accountable. At home, Rasha was attempting to cope with the flood of emotions that was still engulfing her. Her mother had come to temporarily support her, but even that was difficult. One evening over dinner, her mother said, "You need to leave him for good," revealed his true identity to you by concealing a child, Rasheeda. What more might he be concealing? Rasheeda looked up, her eyes puffy and exhausted from restless nights. "I don't know her, maybe everything." For Rasheeda, the most terrifying aspect of the situation was not the child or the betrayal, but rather the eerie notion that the man she had created a life with was a stranger with a familiar face. That's why those words stayed in the room for a long time after they were said. Done shocking her just as Rasheeda was starting to think about treatment and potentially separation, Jasmine Wu dropped another bombshell. Seemingly seeking more attention or perhaps retribution, she uploaded a number of mysterious stories online, including screenshots of past communications. Her account started to be inundated with pictures and hazy documents, but one image in particular caught our attention. A purported birth certificate with Kirk Frost as the father and Jasmine as the mother. Fans were shocked, wondering if this was another child. Fans filled the comment sections of both Kirk's and Rasheeda's social media accounts, demanding clarification and hurling out suspicions about another lady. Who was this mystery mother? Had Kirk fathered yet another child behind Rasheeda's back? Crazy rumors, some said Jasmine had made up the document, while others thought Kirk's shady past had always been more complicated than he revealed. Meanwhile, Kirk was in a downward spiral. He hadn't spoken to Jasmine since the initial secret was revealed, and now this to contact his legal team if he had to find out if there was another child. But he was deeply afraid because he recalled that night, which had occurred more than 10 years ago in Miami at a music event. He was intoxicated, alone, and vulnerable, and yes, he did recall that the woman's name was Tamara. She was a promoter, smart, ambitious, and attractive. They had a brief affair, or so he believed. Had she actually given birth to this child and kept it a secret, or was this Jasmine playing the sick game? Kirk was so alarmed that he went out to Tamara. She responded, "I was wondering when you called," much to his astonishment. It was almost too quiet for her voice. "Is it true?" Kirk questioned without engaging in small talk. "Is that kid mine?" Tamara paused. "Then yes, I tried to tell you once years ago, but you were married. And I walked away when I saw you weren't interested," she answered quietly. Kirk felt sick to his stomach. Had nothing more to say. The silence dragged on forever until Tamara finally spoke. "His name is Kevin, and he is 12 years old. He has been inquiring about you as though the earth beneath Kirk had collapsed, and everything had fallen apart once more. Another child, another secret, another betrayal. Add to the list. This time Kevin, a youngster who was unaware that his father was a well-known figure involved in a scandal, would also suffer harm." Kirk felt he had to tell Rasheeda about his past as well as the child. He couldn't bear the burden of this any longer. It was crushing him. Meanwhile, Rasheeda had already started filming her sequences for the upcoming season of the show after producers learned of the new information, and cameras were in a confessional. She stated, "How many more women are going to come out of the shadows? How many more children does Kirk have? I'm not just hurt, I'm humiliated, and I'm angry." She was striving to record every emotional moment, first with Jasmine and now with Tamara. After her friends came together in support of her, Carly Red arrived at her house crying and whining, saying, "Girl, I'm at a loss for words. This is more than anything I've ever seen," Carly remarked. "Kirk is out here constructing an entire basketball team behind your back," Rasheeda said, forcing a giggle that soon turned to tears. "I just want peace, Carly. I just want the truth, everything. No more surprises." The surprises didn't end there. Within days of Kirk contacting Tamara, rumors circulated online and images of Tamara and Kevin appeared. Kirk was now publicly branded as a secret family man and a serial cheater, making headlines. The betrayal had gone public, and her humiliation was now a part of the reality TV machine that had once elevated her brand. Rasheeda broke down in a private moment with her sons, saying, "I've been humiliated." Even her boutique customers whispered behind her back, and strangers stared when she went grocery shopping. "Trying to keep our family together," she said, "but I don't want you two to believe that this is how love should appear." Her old saying, "We love you, Mom, and we got your back no matter what," that meant more to her than any apology Kirk could offer. Kirk, however, wasn't prepared to give up. He asked Rasheeda to meet with him without any cameras or producers. She grudgingly consented, and they met in a peaceful park close to their house where there was a lot of awkward tension. "I'm not here to defend myself," Kirk said. Eyes downcast, Kirk added, "I'm here to tell you the truth. The whole truth is, I have another child, Kevin, who is 12 years old. I didn't know until this week, but it's definitely, I can't do this," she muttered. "I thought Jasmine was rock bottom, Kirk." And Rasheeda blinked as the words struck her like a slap. She stood motionless. Kirk responded, "I know I've hurt you in ways I can't fix, but he's my son and he deserves to know me. This is a whole new level." Between them, a woman and a guy who are both desperate to make amends shattered by constant betrayal. Forgiving was no longer the only option. As they sat, it was about how much more Rasheeda could endure before permanently leaving and what she was ready to accept. Both of them knew that whatever happened next would alter everything as the wind rustled through the trees in quiet. While Kirk moved, Rasheeda sat on the chilly park seat and gazed straight ahead for eternity. Uncomfortably next to her, and their quiet wasn't the tranquil type that was noisy, oppressive, and filled with words that neither of them could express any longer. Kirk had revealed everything, at all least everything she currently knew, but for some reason, Rasheeda was unable to find closure. Not now. Perhaps not. "Do you understand that?" As she gently turned to face him, her voice was sharp but gentle. "Kirk's head fell every time I forgave you, and I lost a part of myself." Couldn't honestly respond to that. He had spent years persuading himself that shielding her by concealing his errors. But now that all is out, "I want you to meet Kevin," she said, realizing the harm he had caused to her spirit as well as to their relationship. "I don't want to hide him like I did before," Kirk stated cautiously. "He deserves a genuine, and you should get to know him." Rasha chuckled bitterly. "You want me to meet the child you created? You didn't ask for this. You were meant to be establishing a future with me." "None of them did," Kirk said quietly, and that was the most painful part. Since Kirk was correct, the children were innocent bystanders to his careless actions and had nothing to do with the lies. Collect, at least not yet. Rasheeda wasn't prepared to enter that world. The betrayal was still leaking beneath the surface, and the wounds were too recent. Over the course of the following few days, Kirk started to apologize for his faults and published thoughtfully phrased remarks online. Blogs without mentioning names and attempting to limit the harm. but it was too little too late. Dismantled him and presented him as the most skilled manipulator. Memes spread internet ridiculing his regrets and exposing his dishonest and covert behavior. Hip-hop and love producers, meanwhile, had made gold. The controversy had pushed ratings skyrocketing. They wanted more heartbreak, more drama, and more footage. Rasheeda, however, refused to comply, saying, "This time, I'm not a storyline." Harshly at a production meeting, "This is my life. I won't show my suffering for attention." The producers weren't. They started contacting other cast members, spreading rumors, and establishing encounters. When Tamara, Kevin's mother, was unexpectedly asked to participate on the show, she initially turned it down, but the money seemed alluring, and she consented under one condition: to reveal to her kid the truth about his father on video. Situation: when Kirk learned, he became enraged. There was no phony drama, just reality. Kirk yelled at producers, "This isn't how I wanted him to be introduced to the world." Even though it wasn't a headline, the action was already underway. With the cameras rolling, the fans were consuming the teasers as Tamara and Kevin were about to walk. Rasheeda was shocked after entering the spotlight and realizing there was no turning back. Got a call from a producer saying, "Even if you don't, you should be there for the filming." Talking is crucial. After a long, heavy pause, she said, "I'll give it some thought." It felt unreal when the day of the still shoot finally came, and Kirk was clearly anxious as he stood outside a little diner where the Tamara was the first to arrive at the appointed rendezvous, holding Kevin's hand. He was tall, modest for his age, and had eyes that made Kirk think of pictures from his own early years. When their gazes locked, Kirk froze. Kirk's voice cracked as he replied, "Hi," Kevin stated simply. It was that the cameras captured their awkward introductions, tentative smiles, and their first words. Tamara prepared Kevin for this by remaining open but protected during the pauses. Nothing could really prepare a boy to meet a parent he had never met. Kirk gradually revealed, "I'm positive that if I had known," he said. "I promise you, Kevin, I would have been." Kevin stared at him for a long time before asking, why didn't he do everything differently? Kirk paused when asked, "Stay with my mom." It was a straightforward, honest, and yet heartbreaking question. "I made a lot of mistakes, but that wasn't about you," he continued, referring to my marriage. "That was about me not being the guy I should have been." Kevin nodded, not entirely comprehending, but seeing the regret in Rasheeda stood off camera, observing through the window from a distance. Kirk's voice, though she wasn't sure why, she ultimately made the decision to come, possibly to see the boy. Perhaps to check whether Kirk truly meant what he said, or perhaps because she still had a tiny broken part of her that wanted to believe even if they never returned to their previous state, things could improve. Tears filled her eyes as she watched Kirk and Kevin together. Not because she wanted him back or because she had forgiven him, but because she remembered that no matter what, she saw something genuine, something human. Regardless of how much someone damaged you, they at least deserved a moment of grace if they were truly trying. Did not imply reconciliation. When Kirk subsequently came up to her in the parking lot, she folded her arms and stood erect, saying, "You did, he's a sweet kid," she added. "And thank you for coming," Kirk answered. She emphasized, "I didn't come for you. I wasn't sure you would." Kirk nodded, and perhaps so I could see it for myself. "I know I begged for too many opportunities, but I hope you'll remember me eventually and know that I'm trying." The errors Rasheeda groaned were not there yet, but we'll see Kirk. She left without turning around, so perhaps he won't be with it. After the show's final season of filming, editors assembled the most dramatic plot that love and hip-hop has to offer. Ever broadcast while insiders murmured that fans eagerly anticipated the premiere. Rasheeda's boutique was doing well, but it looks like she may be leaving for permanently. Kirk, on the other hand, was choosing herself for the first time as her sons grew. Was beginning anew, both with Kevin and with himself. There would be fewer public therapy sessions. It was still unclear if appearances and spending more time with his kids would be sufficient to restore his reputation. But for once, he wasn't trying to fabricate a story. Instead, he was merely attempting to improve himself. As for Kevin, his story was only getting started, and it would always be associated with a father he hardly knew in a world where cameras, views, and drama, and one thing emerged from it all: the truth. No matter how, there's always a way out of anything uncomfortable, and sometimes it's not the exposure that breaks you. The ensuing silence forces everyone to confront their true selves, and suddenly the world can finally see the reality that Kirk worked so hard to conceal. Fans are angry over a woman who was deceived on national television, a secret child, and a broken home. Still attempting to comprehend the flurry of feelings, the unvarnished admissions, and the ongoing consequences even.